I can recall when I was in Columbus, Ohio, that's where I went to seminary, and the weekend would get there, and myself along with 3 others would basically have a night out, as you would say. So we would get in one of the seminarians' cars and we would make our way over to this wonderful section of Columbus called German Village, which is a great little section. Then you would have to find a parking spot. You would have to parallel park. And then as soon as you parallel park, like 4 blocks away, you get off and you start walking to the restaurant. And usually it's snowing by then. So you're having a great adventure walking through the snow. At least I was, and so were the ones that were with me. So we made our way over to Max and Irma's. Max and Irma's is the Columbus version of Chili's here. And so we made our way there. We sat down. We had a wonderful meal. We shared some company. And then we got done. We paid our tab, and then we would walk out. And then we'd make our way over to Cup of Joe. That's the Columbus version of Starbucks. And so we sat there at Cup of Joe's and enjoyed a nice cup of coffee because it was cold. Share some company. Then we'd get done. And then we'd leave, and then we'd go to this wonderful bookstore, a used bookstore. I forget the name of it. But it's Columbus versions of half-price books. So it's huge. And in there, we would all go our separate ways because we're kind of tired of each other by then. But we're not done with the night. And so we're there, and we're kind of just in our own sections and this and that. And we're just kind of, passing time, really. And then, of course, 3 of us are ready. 1 of us is not. So 3 of us are there gathering, huddling already, trying to figure out why is he not ready to leave. Maybe you've run into these kind of people in your life. But then again, you're stuck because he's the one driving. So you really have no choice but to wait. Maybe you've been in those situations before. But the reality is, we enjoyed the night, and then finally he was ready to go. Finally we made our way back to the car, and finally we made our way back to the seminary. It was a great night. That was usually the custom every other Friday or so. The nice thing about it was the fact that we had something in common, really. We all came from different walks of life, but something brought us together. And that something was, of course, we all desired to study for the priesthood. And though some came from Indiana, some from Corpus Christi, some from Pennsylvania, we all met there. And funny enough, though we studied the same thing, we also were able to share what became a friendship. And we were able to enjoy time together, and we were able to appreciate who we were, where we came from, and we made the best of our time away from home. All of us missed our families, but there was nothing we could do about it, really. We knew that we had to go with what the church had asked of us, which was, this is where you're going to study, these are the people you're going to study with, make it work. And so we did. It wasn't always heaven, that's for sure. But nevertheless, when is it? Always heaven. There are those moments that are a little trying. But the funny thing is, even though we shared this company in the restaurant, in Cup of Joe's, in the restaurant, in the bookstore, we were still sharing company, yet we weren't together. In the same building, but not in the same room. But we had that spirit of togetherness still. That had not been lost. So we knew that we were just basically a call away from one another in case something went wrong, or in case we wanted to share another moment with that person. And we made the best of our time. And of course the time came that we were to go back home. 1 to Corpus Christi, 1 to Indiana, 1 to Pennsylvania, etc., etc. Throughout these last 2 weeks of the liturgical year, we are called by the scriptures to reflect on the end of time. Now we can easily do one of 2 things. We can focus greatly on that which we cannot change nor control, or we can approach it appreciating that which we can and enjoy. I choose the second. The end of time is the end of time. Is it going to happen? Yes. When is it going to happen? I don't know. And for the record, no one does. Remember, Jesus is reminding us today in the gospel that beware of those who come in my name and say, okay, look, follow me because the time is near. The time is going to come to an end. And so I'm going to lead you to this open field because that's what Jesus told me to do. And so I want you to leave everything behind, and I want you to follow me into this open field because this is where it's all going to happen. So follow me, follow me, follow me. We've seen it done many a times. And so there goes a group of people, and they're following this one person who said, he's the one, follow me. And they go into this open land, and all of a sudden, guess what? They go home at the end of the day. Disappointed. Why? Because the only thing that happened was the day came to a close. And there was another day waiting to be entered. There's no way of knowing when this cathedral will come down, which, by the way, it will one day. Will we be around to see it? Probably not, so why worry about it? Don't understand why we preoccupy about those things that we cannot control nor change. But the reality is, we are able to control today. The reason I told you that story from Columbus, Ohio is because I remember it so fondly. And I made the best of the time I had to be away from home. And I was able to enjoy that with those I was able to call friends. And I was able to share with them what God shared with me, which is his love and his peace, and yes, his joy. And that's my prayer for all of you, really, that you can do that with every day that you enter. Because we can easily be preoccupied. But why? There are those things we cannot control. There are those things that remain unknown. But there are these things that we do know, and there are these things we can control. And I hope and pray that you will indeed be able to utilize what God has given you in this given day to make it a day that you give thanks to him for having blessed you, but also that you will make it a blessing for those that enter this day with you. Make it a day where you can share company. Make it a day where you can share his love. Make it a day where he is made known by your words, by your actions, by your very presence. And let tomorrow take care of itself. Let the end of time and the final days take care of themselves. Because where are those days? My dear friends, we can enter every day thinking, this is the day, this is the day, this is the day. And guess what? 60 years passes by. And have you lived? No. Why? Because you've been preoccupied about the end. That's not living. Living is enjoying today. Living is experiencing today what God wants you to have, his love. And you experience it by sharing it with each other. And so I pray for all of us this day that we will indeed make what God has given to us a reality for ourselves, which is the gift of the presence of God today and making this day his by living in it with those that I am blessed to have. And I assure you, when you do, you will truly never worry. You will never be preoccupied. Why? Because you will be having too much fun.